The council chamber was full that morning. Representatives from 40 different species sat in their usual seats talking before the meeting started. The tall glass windows showed the stars outside, and the air smelled like the sweet incense the Vrexians always burned before important sessions. Councillor Dalsu walked to his place at the front. He was a large Vrexian with dark purple skin and 3 eyes that looked at everyone with confidence. He had been the speaker for 12 cycles now, and he knew how to control these meetings. He sat down and prepared to start the day's business. That was when he noticed it. The human seats were empty. Dalsu looked at the 5 chairs where the human delegation always sat. They were completely empty. Not just empty like someone was late. Empty like nobody was coming at all. The chairs looked strange sitting there with no one in them. He called to his assistant, a young Kirath named Hanul, who stood near the door. Hanul hurried over, his thin legs moving quickly across the smooth floor. "Where are the humans?" Dalsu asked. Hanul checked his datapad and his face went pale.
"Sir, they are not here."
The embassy sent a message this morning. "All human staff have left the station." Dalsu laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound. Left just like that? Without even asking permission? Other councillors heard this and started whispering to each other. The news spread through the chamber like fire through dry grass. The humans were gone. Typical human drama, Dalsu said loudly enough for everyone to hear. They are always so sensitive. Someone probably hurt their feelings again, and now they are pouting like children. Several councillors laughed at this. The Plaxians nodded their heads in agreement. Even some of the Threxians smiled, showing their sharp teeth. But in the back of the intelligence section, a junior analyst named Bora was not laughing. She was a small Vrexian who spent most of her time reading reports that other people ignored. She pulled up files on her screen and started going through them carefully. The meeting went on without the humans. Dalsu made jokes about their absence. Other councillors talked about how weak humans were, how they could not handle the tough reality of galactic politics. They said humans were too emotional, too soft, too quick to take offense. Nobody seemed worried. After the meeting ended, Bora stayed at her desk. She kept reading through old files and reports. What she found made her stomach feel cold. The humans had not left suddenly. They had been planning this for months, maybe even years. Every human ship had quietly returned to human space over the past 6 months. Every human citizen working in council territory had slowly gone home. The embassy staff were just the last ones to leave, and there were warnings. So many warnings. Bora found speech after speech from Ambassador Taejin, the human representative. He had stood in this very chamber and talked about fairness. He had asked the council to treat humans as equal partners, not as servants. He had pointed out how humans always got the dangerous jobs, the thankless missions, the tasks that nobody else wanted to do. She found a speech from 2 years ago. Taejin had been calm that day, speaking in his quiet way. He was a middle-aged man with gray hair and tired eyes. Bora remembered seeing him around the station, always polite, always patient. "We ask only for respect," Taejin had said. "We have fought your wars. We have mediated your conflicts. We have given our resources, our technology, our lives to help build this council into something great. We ask for nothing in return except to be treated as equals, as partners, as friends." The recording showed Dalsu yawning during that speech. Other councillors had been looking at their datapads, not even listening. When Taejin finished, Dalsu had said, "Thank you for your concerns, Ambassador. We will take them under consideration." They never had. Bora found another speech from 6 months ago. Taejin's voice had been harder that time, more firm. "This is our final request," he had said. "Treat us fairly or we will leave. We will not fight you. We will not make threats. We will simply go. And you will have to manage without us." Dalsu had laughed at that too. "Go where?" he had asked. "You need us more than we need you. This is just empty talk." But it had not been empty talk. Bora printed out the reports and took them to her supervisor. He barely looked at them. "The humans will be back," he said, waving his hand. "They always come back. They need the council for trade and protection." But Bora was not so sure. That evening she walked to the human embassy. The building was completely dark. The doors were locked. A simple sign hung on the front entrance. It said, "The human embassy is now closed. All inquiries should be directed to the human border stations. Thank you for your understanding." It was so polite, so formal. So Bora stood there for a long time, reading that sign over and over. Around her, other species walked past, laughing and talking about their day. Nobody seemed to understand what had just happened. The humans had not stormed out in anger. They had not made threats or demands. They had simply packed their things, said goodbye, and left. They had done exactly what they promised they would do. 3 days later, the council held an emergency meeting. Delsu stood at the front again, but he was not laughing anymore. Reports had started coming in from across council space. Human trading posts were closed. Human medical teams had withdrawn from disaster zones. Human peacekeepers had left border regions where they had been keeping hostile species apart. "We need to send a delegation," said Councillor Hanul, the Kirath military strategist. "We need to talk to them and understand what they want." "They already told us what they wanted," Bora said quietly from her seat in the back. Nobody heard her. The council voted to send Captain J. Juan and a diplomatic team to human space. They would find out what was happening and convince the humans to return. It would be simple. The humans were reasonable people. They would listen. Delsu felt confident again. "This is just a misunderstanding," he told the council. "We will clear it up quickly." But as the meeting ended and everyone left the chamber, Bora stayed behind. She looked at the empty human seats one more time. Something told her this was not going to be simple at all. The humans had been patient for so long. They had been kind for so long. They had been generous for so long. And the council had taken it all for granted. Now the humans were gone, and Bora had a terrible feeling that they were not coming back. Captain J. Juan stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the view screen. Before him was the border of human space. He had been to this region many times before. It used to be busy with traffic, full of human ships moving in and out, traders calling out greetings, patrol vessels waving as they passed. Now, it was silent. Not empty. Silent. There was a difference. J. Juan could see defense stations in the distance. Their lights were on. Their weapons were active. But no ships moved between them. No communication signals came from them. It was like looking at a wall that was watching you but would not speak. "Try hailing them again," he said to Specialist Yunseo, who sat at the communication station. Yunseo was a thin Threxian with gray skin and large eyes. She had worked in communications for 20 years and could speak 17 languages. She pressed buttons on her console and sent out another signal. "Human vessels, this is Council Diplomatic Ship Aurora. We request permission to enter your space for peaceful talks. Please respond." They waited. Seconds turned into minutes. Finally, a response came back. But it was not from a person. It was a recorded message played by a computer. "This is the Human Border Authority. Human space is currently closed to all foreign vessels. We are not accepting diplomatic missions at this time. Please turn back. This is not a hostile act. We simply wish to be left alone. Thank you for your understanding." The message ended. Yunseo looked at J. Juan with worry in her eyes. "Try again," J. Juan said. "Use the emergency diplomatic codes. Tell them we are here on official council business." Yunseo sent the message with the special codes that were supposed to open any door in council space. The codes that meant urgent business from the highest levels of government. The same recorded message played again. Word for word. Exactly the same. Commander Hyewan walked up behind J. Juan. She was a tall Vrexian woman with scars on her face from years of military service. She had fought beside human soldiers in 3 different wars. She knew them well. "They are not going to let us in," she said quietly. "We have to try," J. Juan said. He was a Kirath and his people believed in persistence. "We will wait here. Maybe someone will talk to us eventually." They waited for 6 hours, then 12, then a full day. The recorded message played every time they sent a signal. Nothing else came through. During that time, other ships arrived. A Plaxian trading vessel showed up, trying to reach a human station where they used to buy medical supplies. The same recorded message turned them away. A Threxian passenger ship came looking for humans who had promised to attend a cultural festival. The same message sent them back. Yunseo spent hours trying to break through the communication block. She tried every code she knew. She tried sending messages in different languages. She tried using old frequency channels that humans used to monitor. Nothing worked. Every attempt got the same polite, recorded response. "Their encryption has changed," she finally said, leaning back in her chair with exhaustion. "I cannot even scan their networks anymore. Whatever security they have now, it is far beyond what they had 6 months ago. Haya-wan was studying the defense stations through the ship's sensors. "Look at this," she said, putting an image on the main screen. "These stations are new, or heavily upgraded. The weapon systems are different, more powerful, more efficient." Jae-hwan studied the image. He was not a military expert, but even he could see the difference. The stations looked more dangerous now, more serious. "When did they do this?" he asked. "That is the question," Hee-won said. "Our last intelligence report on human military capabilities is from 8 months ago. It shows nothing like this. Either they built all of this very quickly, or they had it ready and we never knew about it." Yoon-seo pulled up files on her screen. "I am reading the old reports now. We always assumed humans were behind us in technology. We thought their weapons were weaker. Their ships were slower. Their defenses were basic. Maybe we were wrong," Hee-won said. "Maybe they just let us think that." Jae-hwan felt something cold in his chest. "You think they were hiding their real strength?" Hye-won shrugged. "I think humans are very good at making people underestimate them. We saw them as soft, emotional, weak. What if that was exactly what they wanted us to see? They tried for 3 more days." Jae-hwan sent personal messages to human officers he had worked with before. Yoon-seo tried contacting human traders who used to visit Council Space. Hye-won even tried military channels, reaching out to human soldiers she had fought alongside. Every message got the same response. The recording. Always polite, always firm, always final. On the 4th day, something changed. A human ship appeared from behind one of the defense stations. It was a patrol vessel, small but fast. It moved toward them quickly. "Finally," Jae-hwan said, "someone is coming to talk to us." But the ship did not come to talk. It stopped exactly at the borderline and sat there, waiting, watching. "They are making sure we leave," Hye-won said quietly. Jae-hwan made one final attempt. He recorded a personal message. He talked about friendship between species. He mentioned all the times the Council and humans had worked together. He asked them to please just talk, to tell him what the problem was. He sent the message directly to the patrol ship. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the patrol ship turned around and went back to the defense station. No message came back. Nothing at all. "They are not listening anymore," Yoon-seo said sadly. "Or maybe they listened too much already and now they are done." Jae-hwan gave the order to leave. His ship turned around and headed back to Council Space. Behind them, the human border remained silent and closed. On the trip back, Hee-won compiled a report. She wrote about the upgraded defenses, the advanced technology, the complete communication blackout, the absolute unwillingness to negotiate. "This is not a tantrum," she wrote. "This is not a negotiating tactic. The humans have made a choice and they are not changing their minds. They have sealed their borders with strength we did not know they had. They are prepared to defend those borders if necessary." Yoon-seo added her own notes. She wrote about the impossibility of breaking their communication security, the sophistication of their automated systems, the fact that every response was identical, showing perfect discipline and planning. "They are not ignoring us," she wrote. "They are watching us very carefully. They are just choosing not to respond. There is a difference." Jae-hwan read both reports and felt tired. He had believed this would be simple. He had thought the humans would be reasonable. He had been certain they would at least talk, but the humans had talked. For years, for decades. They had talked and nobody had listened. Now they were done talking. When they arrived back at Council headquarters, Jae-hwan delivered his report in person. Dal-soo sat in his chair and listened with a frown on his face. "So they refused to see you," Dal-soo said when Jae-hwan finished. "That is unfortunate. But they will change their minds when they realize they need us." Jae-hwan looked at the counselor for a long moment. "I do not think they need us," he said quietly. "I think maybe we need them." Dal-soo laughed at this. But the laugh sounded hollow in the big chamber, and nobody else joined in. The first sign came 3 weeks after the humans closed their borders. A Plaxian colony called for emergency help. A disease had broken out, spreading quickly through their population. They needed medicine. The call went to the Council Medical Division. Director Kyung-ho, a Threxian doctor who ran the division, looked at the request. He pulled up the supply records and his face went pale. "We do not have this medicine," he said to his staff. His assistant looked confused. "But we always have it. The humans make it for us." "The humans are gone," Kyung-ho said slowly. The reality of it was starting to sink in. And they took their medicine with them. He checked other medicines. Nearly 40% of the Council's medical supplies came from human manufacturers. The humans had special technology for making medicines that worked across different species. Nobody else knew how to do it as well as they did. The Plaxian colony had to wait 2 months for alternative medicine from a different source. By then, 3,000 people had died. The second sign came from the trade networks. Minister Sohi was a Plaxian who managed Council commerce. She started getting reports from all over Council space. Trade routes were failing. Ships were sitting idle. Goods were not moving. She pulled up her trade maps and saw the problem immediately. The humans had been the connection between dozens of species. They traded with everyone, even species that hated each other. If Species A refused to deal with Species B, the humans would buy from A and sell to B. Everyone got what they needed. Now that connection was gone. The Vrexians needed minerals from Kirath space, but the two species had not spoken directly in 50 years. The humans had managed that trade. Now the Vrexians could not get their minerals, and the Kirath could not sell their goods. The Threxians had relied on human cargo ships to move their products across long distances. Human ships were fast and reliable. Now Threxian goods piled up in warehouses with no way to transport them, so he tried to fix it. She set up meetings between hostile species trying to get them to trade directly. But decades of hatred did not disappear just because it was convenient. The meetings ended in shouting matches. Sometimes they ended in violence. Within 2 months, trade volume across Council space had dropped by 60%. The third sign came from the border regions. Small conflicts started breaking out. Species that had old arguments began fighting again. Territory disputes turned violent. For 20 years, human peacekeepers had managed these borders. They stood between hostile species and kept them calm. When fights started, humans talked everyone down. When tensions rose, humans found compromises. The humans had done this work without complaint. They had lost soldiers doing it, but they had kept the peace. Now they were gone, and the old hatreds came back like fire through dry grass. The Council tried to send their own peacekeepers, but it did not work the same way. When Vrexian peacekeepers went to a Kirath border, the Kirath did not trust them. When Threxian peacekeepers tried to manage a dispute, both sides accused them of taking sides. The humans had been neutral. Everyone had trusted them to be fair, even when they did not like the decisions. That trust was earned over generations. It could not be replaced quickly. Within 3 months, 5 border wars had started. Bora watched all of this from her desk in the intelligence division. She compiled reports and sent them to her supervisors. Most of them were ignored. The people in charge did not want to admit how bad things were getting, but Bora kept digging. She went through decades of records. She looked at every mission, every project, every crisis that the Council had faced, and she found the pattern. Humans were always there. When a plague broke out, human doctors were first to arrive. When a station needed emergency repairs, human engineers volunteered. When a diplomatic crisis threatened war, human ambassadors worked day and night to find solutions. Humans had died in dozens of wars that were not their own. They had spent fortunes helping species that never thanked them. They had given their time, their knowledge, their resources, and their lives to make the Council work, and the Council had treated them like servants. Bora found records of Council meetings where human proposals were dismissed without discussion. She found budget reports showing humans paid more into the Council than they received back. She found casualty lists showing human losses in Council operations were 3 times higher than any other species. She found a financial report that made her sick. For 15 years, humans had been loaning money to the Council to prevent economic collapse. The loans were never repaid. They were never even acknowledged. The Council just kept asking for more, and the humans kept giving it until now. Bora put all of this into a comprehensive report. She spent a week working on it, barely sleeping. When it was finished, she sent it to every counselor. She sent it to news organizations. She sent it to anyone who would read it. Most people ignored it. Dalsu called her into his office and told her to stop causing trouble. Her supervisor threatened to fire her, but some people read it. Ambassador Sujin, a Karath diplomat, read the whole thing. She sat in her office afterwards, staring at the wall. She had worked with humans for 10 years. She had thought they were friends. Now she realized she had been part of the problem. She had asked humans for help constantly. She had relied on their patience and kindness. But she had never asked if they needed help. She had never questioned whether they were being treated fairly. She had taken them for granted, just like everyone else. Counselor Hanul read the report too. As a military strategist, he understood the implications immediately. The humans had been the Council's strength. Their technology, their soldiers, their strategic thinking. Without them, the Council was weaker. Much weaker, and the humans knew it. That was why their borders were so well defended now. They were not afraid of the Council anymore. They had probably never been afraid. They had just been kind enough to pretend. 4 months after the humans left, Dalsu called an emergency council session. The chamber was full, but the mood was different now. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was making jokes. "We need to discuss the human situation," Dalsu said. He looked tired, older. "What is there to discuss?" asked a Threxian counselor. "They are gone. The damage is done. We need them back," so he said bluntly. "Our economy is collapsing. Trade is failing. We cannot sustain this. How do we get them back?" Hanul asked. "They will not talk to us." Silence filled the chamber. Nobody had an answer. In the back of the room, Bora stood up. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Maybe we cannot get them back," she said. "Maybe we do not deserve to." Dalsu glared at her. "Sit down, analyst. You are out of line." But Bora did not sit down. "You all read my report. You know what we did to them. We used them. We took everything they gave us and never said thank you. When they asked for respect, we laughed at them. When they asked for fairness, we ignored them." "That is enough," Dalsu said, his voice rising. "No," Ambassador Sujin said, standing up too. "It is not enough. She is right. We treated the humans terribly, and now we are paying the price." More counselors began talking. Some defended their actions. Others admitted mistakes. The chamber filled with arguments and accusations. Dalsu tried to maintain order, but it was falling apart. The council was breaking, and everyone knew it was their own fault. Outside the chamber, across council space, regular people were starting to ask questions. If the humans had done so much, why had nobody noticed? If the humans were so important, why had they been treated so badly? The answers were uncomfortable, and they were only beginning to emerge. Mi-sun was a journalist for the largest news network in council space. She was a Plaxian with bright blue skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. For 15 years, she had reported on council politics. She thought she understood how things worked. Then she received an anonymous message. It contained thousands of files. Council records, budget reports, meeting transcripts, mission logs, all of it stamped as classified. She knew immediately who had sent it. Bora, the junior analyst. They had never met, but Mi-sun had read her report about human contributions to the council. This was the proof to back up that report. Mi-sun spent 3 weeks going through the files. What she found made her angry. Not the quick anger that fades. The deep anger that comes from seeing injustice and knowing it was preventable. The files showed everything. 20 years of human service. 20 years of being taken advantage of. There was a mission log from the Kresh Nebula disaster. A station had exploded, killing thousands. The council needed someone to go into the unstable area to rescue survivors. The environment was deadly. Radiation levels would kill most species within hours. Humans volunteered. 20 human rescue workers went in. 12 of them died. They saved 400 lives from 6 different species. The council meeting notes from afterward simply said, "Rescue operation complete." Acceptable losses. There was no memorial. No recognition. The human families received standard death benefits, nothing more. The council had moved on to the next crisis within a week. Mi-sun found budget records showing the humans had loaned the council 40 billion credits over 15 years. The loans were never repaid. When human ambassador Tae-jin had asked about repayment 3 years ago, Councillor Dalsu had told him the council would pay when it was convenient. It never became convenient. She found records of human medical researchers who had developed treatments for cross-species diseases. They had given the formulas to the council for free, asking only to be credited in the research papers. The council had published the papers with no mention of the human scientists. When the humans complained, they were told not to be so concerned with glory. She found military reports from the Threxian-Kirath border war 12 years ago. Human peacekeepers had stopped the war from spreading. They had negotiated for 8 months straight, working without rest. 5 human diplomats had died from stress-related health failures during those negotiations. The peace treaty was signed. The war ended. In the official records, the credit went to the council leadership. The human contribution was listed in a footnote. Mi-sun found a video file. It was from Ambassador Tae-jin's final appearance before the council, 6 months before the humans left. She played it on her screen. Tae-jin looked older than she remembered. His hair was completely gray. His face was lined with exhaustion. He stood at the speaker's platform and looked around at the counselors. "This is my last request," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. "We are not asking for special treatment. We are not asking for glory or credit or rewards. We are asking for basic respect. We are asking to be treated as partners instead of servants." He pulled up a holographic display. Numbers filled the air. Human contributions. Human casualties. Human loans. Human sacrifices. "We have given everything we have to this council," Tae-jin said. "And in return you have given us contempt. You laugh at our concerns. You dismiss our proposals. You take our help and never say thank you." The camera showed the counselors. Some were looking at their data pads. Others were whispering to each other. Dalsu was checking his messages. Nobody was really listening. "So this is our final statement," Tae-jin said. "Change how you treat us or we will leave. We will not fight you. We will not cause problems. We will simply remove ourselves from a relationship that has become harmful to us." He had stood there for a moment looking at the council, hoping someone would respond with understanding, hoping someone would see that this was serious. Dalsu had waved his hand dismissively. "Thank you, Ambassador. We will discuss your concerns." Then he had moved on to the next agenda item. The video ended. Mi-sun sat in silence for a long time. She had been in that chamber that day. She had been reporting on council business. And she had not paid attention to Tae-jin's speech either. She had thought it was just more diplomatic talk. She had been part of the problem too. Mi-sun wrote her article. She included everything. The missions where humans died, the money they loaned, the research they gave away, the peace they maintained, the respect they never received. She included Tae-jin's final speech. She included the council's response, or rather, the lack of response. Her editor read the article and went pale. "You cannot publish this," he said. "The council will shut us down." "Then they shut us down," Mi-sun said. "But people need to know the truth." The article published the next morning. Within an hour, it was the most read story in council space. Within a day, it had been shared millions of times. People were furious. Not at the humans. At the council, protests started within a week. Thousands of people gathered outside council headquarters. They carried signs that said, "Apologize to the humans, and we failed them," and "Justice for the 12," referring to the rescue workers who died in the Kresh Nebula. More journalists picked up the story. They found more examples. A human agricultural expert who had saved a Plaxian colony from famine and received no recognition. A human engineer who had designed the safety systems used on every council station and never been paid for his work. A human teacher who had developed educational programs for 20 different species and been told her methods were too simple. The stories kept coming. Each one showed the same pattern. Humans giving, council taking. Humans asking for respect, council giving contempt. Elder One Shik was one of the few counselors who had supported the humans. He was a Kirath who had served on the council for 40 years. He had voted against every decision that exploited the humans. He had been outvoted every time. He held a press conference. He stood before the cameras and spoke honestly. "I am ashamed of this council," he said. "I am ashamed of myself for not doing more. The humans asked for so little. They deserved so much, and we gave them nothing but disrespect." He showed records of the final vote, the one that happened just before the humans left. Ambassador Tae-jin had proposed a new agreement. Humans would continue helping the council, but in exchange they wanted equal voting rights. They wanted fair payment for their services. They wanted credit for their work. The council had voted against it. 35-5. The majority said humans were asking for too much. They said humans should be grateful to be part of the council at all. 2 weeks after that vote, the humans had closed their embassy and left. The public reaction was explosive. People demanded resignations. They wanted Dalsu removed from office. They wanted investigations into council corruption. They wanted justice for the humans who had died serving the council. Dalsu tried to defend himself. He gave speeches saying he had been trying to protect council interests. He said humans had always been free to leave if they wanted. He said the council had done nothing wrong. Nobody believed him. In her small office, Bora watched the news and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. She had wanted people to know the truth. Now they knew. But the truth was painful. She received a message from Mi-sun. "Thank you for the files. You did the right thing," Bora wrote back. "I just hope it is not too late," but she suspected it was. The humans had made their choice. They had closed their borders and walked away. They had been patient for so long. They had given so much, and they had finally decided they were done. The truth was out now. Everyone knew what the council had done. Everyone knew how badly the humans had been treated. But knowing the truth and fixing the problem were two different things. And some damage could not be undone. 6 months after the humans left, Captain Jae-hwan made a second trip to the human border. This time he was not there as a council representative. He was there as himself, carrying a personal message. He had written to a human officer he had served with, a woman named Lieutenant Kim, who had saved his life during the Vrexian crisis. They had been friends once, or he had thought they were friends. Now he was not sure if he had ever really understood what friendship meant to her. His ship approached the border. The same defense stations were there, silent and watchful. He sent his message to the automated system, explaining that he wanted to speak to Lieutenant Kim. He wanted to apologize. He wanted to understand. For 3 days he received nothing but the standard recorded message. Then on the 4th day something different came through. It was not a live communication. It was a pre-recorded message, but it was personal. A face appeared on his screen. It was not Lieutenant Kim. It was a man he did not know, middle-aged with kind eyes and a tired smile. "Hello," the man said. "My name is Sung-min. I am speaking on behalf of the human government. We have received many messages like yours in recent months, messages from individuals who want to apologize, who want us to come back, who want to know why we left." Sung-min paused. When he spoke again, his voice was gentle but firm. "We left because we had to, not because we were angry, though we had reason to be. Not because we wanted revenge, though we could have caused great harm on our way out. We left because staying was hurting us." He looked directly at the camera as if he could see Jae-hwan through it. "For generations, we gave everything we had to the council. We gave our time, our resources, our technology, our lives. We did it because we believed in the dream of a united galaxy. We believed that if we just kept helping, kept giving, kept being patient, eventually we would be seen as equals. But that never happened. The more we gave, the more was expected of us. The more we helped, the more we were taken for granted. We were never partners. We were servants who did not know their place." Sung-min's expression softened slightly. "Some of you were different. Some of you were kind. Some of you were fair. We remember those people. But kindness from a few individuals does not change a broken system. And the system was broken. The council was built on the expectation that humans would give endlessly and ask for nothing in return. So we made a choice. We chose ourselves. We chose our own well-being. We chose to stop sacrificing our people for those who did not value those sacrifices." He leaned back in his chair. "You want to know if we are coming back? The answer is no. We are not coming back. Not now, not in the future. This is not a negotiating position. This is a final decision. We are doing well. Better than we expected, honestly. Without the burden of council obligations, we have resources to invest in our own people. Our economy is growing. Our technology is advancing. Our people are happier. We should have left a long time ago." Sung-min stood up. Behind him, Jae-hwan could see a window showing a beautiful city with tall buildings and green parks. "We wish you well," Sung-min said. "We hold no hatred toward the council or its people. We simply want to be left alone. Please respect that choice. Do not send more delegations. Do not try to contact us. Let us go in peace." The message ended. Jae-hwan sat in his captain's chair for a long time, staring at the empty screen. He had hoped for something different. An angry tirade he could argue against. A list of demands he could try to meet. Something that gave him a path forward. But there was no path forward. The humans were done, and they were happy to be done. He took the message back to the council. It played in the main chamber. Councilors watched in silence. When it ended, nobody spoke for a full minute. Finally, Dalsu stood up. He looked smaller now, older. The protests had forced him to resign as speaker, but he was still a councilor. "For now, they are bluffing," he said weakly. They need us. They will realize that eventually. No, Elder One-Shik said. He stood up slowly, his old bones creaking. They do not need us. They never needed us. We needed them. And now we have to live with the consequences of how we treated them. Other species were trying to contact the humans independently. The Plaxians sent their own delegation. They received the same recorded message. The Threxians tried to reopen trade channels. The channels stayed closed. Even the Vrexians, who had been some of the worst offenders, attempted to apologize. Their messages went unanswered. The humans were consistent. They wanted to be left alone. They meant it. Meanwhile, the council was falling apart. 3 member species withdrew completely, saying they had lost faith in the leadership. 5 border wars continued with no resolution. The economy remained in crisis. Medical shortages were causing deaths across council space. Public anger forced changes. Dalsu was officially removed from the council and faced criminal investigation for corruption. 7 other councilors resigned. New elections were held. Bora was promoted to senior analyst. She was given the task of helping rebuild the intelligence division, with an emphasis on honesty and accountability. On her first day in her new position, she hung a picture on her wall. It was a photo of Ambassador Taejin giving his final speech. She wanted to remember. She wanted to make sure others remembered too. Elder One-Shik became the new council speaker. He was old, but he was honest. His first act was to create a memorial for all the humans who had died serving the council. It was a simple monument with names carved in stone. Thousands of names. At the dedication ceremony, One-Shik spoke to a crowd of thousands. These names represent people who gave their lives for us, he said. They asked for nothing but respect. We gave them nothing but contempt. Let this monument remind us of the cost of arrogance. Let it remind us that taking others for granted always comes with a price. The council began the slow process of reform. They established fair payment systems for services. They created equal voting rights for all species. They built accountability measures to prevent exploitation. But they did it without the humans. And everyone knew the council would never be as strong as it once was. Some species learned from the mistakes. They treated their neighbors better. They valued cooperation. They remembered what happened when kindness was taken for granted. Other species did not learn. They became bitter. They blamed the humans for abandoning them. They said humans were selfish for choosing themselves over the greater good. These species slowly isolated themselves, unable to adapt to a galaxy that no longer revolved around their needs. Years passed. The council stabilized but never fully recovered. Trade networks found new, less efficient routes. Wars eventually ended through exhaustion, rather than negotiation. Medical research continued without human innovation, progressing at a fraction of its former speed. Occasionally, rumors came from human space. Their colonies were expanding. Their technology was advancing rapidly. They had formed new alliances with species outside council territory. They were thriving. Captain Jae Hwan heard these rumors and felt a mixture of emotions. He was happy for them. They deserved success. But he was also sad for what might have been. If the council had just listened. If they had just treated the humans fairly, the galaxy could have been so much better. Ambassador Su-Jin visited the memorial often. She would stand there reading the names, thinking about the humans she had worked with. She had thought she knew them. She had thought she understood them. But she had never really seen them as equals. She had seen them as useful, as helpful, as kind, but not as equals. That was the real lesson, she realized. The humans had not left because of any single incident. They had left because of thousands of small disrespects. Thousands of times they were overlooked. Thousands of times their contributions were minimized. Thousands of times they were expected to give without receiving. It had added up over decades. And finally, they had decided they were done. Bora wrote a final report about the human withdrawal. It was required reading for all new council members. The conclusion was simple. Respect must be mutual or relationships will fail. Take people for granted and eventually they will leave, and sometimes they will not come back. On a human colony world at the edge of explored space, a community gathered for a celebration. It was the anniversary of the withdrawal, what they called Independence Day. Children played in the streets. Families gathered for meals. People told stories of the old days in council space, and everyone agreed they were better off now. An old woman stood on a balcony watching the celebration. She had gray hair and tired eyes. Her name was Ambassador Tae-jin's daughter. She remembered her father coming home exhausted every night, frustrated by meetings where nobody listened. She remembered him making the difficult decision to recommend withdrawal. He had died 2 years ago, long enough to see that his choice was right, long enough to see his people happy and free. She raised a glass to the sky. "Thank you, Father," she said quietly. "Thank you for being strong enough to choose us. Thank you for knowing when to walk away." Around her, humanity continued its celebration. They had left the council quietly without drama or vengeance. They had simply decided that their own well-being mattered more than endless service to those who did not appreciate it. It was the most human thing they could have done. To give so much for so long and then to finally, peacefully choose themselves.